the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the latest edition of the Stephen A. Smith Show, coming at you as I love to do every weekday over the airwaves of ESPN Radio, 250 plus markets across the United States of America, and of course, ESPN Radio on Sirius XM, Channel 80. Number to call up as always is 888-729-3776. That's 888-SAY-ESPN. It's time for Straight Talk, brought to you by Straight Talk Wireless. Best phones, best networks, no contracts. We all know what time it is today. I understand that Super Bowl 52 is upon us. Less than 2 weeks away. A rematch of what took place in Super Bowl 39 between the Philadelphia Eagles and the New England Patriots. There's a lot of stuff to get into. I understand that. I understand we got to get into Dez Bryant. Tweets from T.O. The Cowboys somehow, some way have made news. And you've got people talking about that. I get all of that. Basketball front, Jason Kidd's fired. We got to talk about that. Basketball front, Damian Lillard has a meeting with owner Mr. Allen, Paul Allen. We got to talk about that. But we all know what the story of the day is. It's the drama, the soap opera, General Hospital or Young and the Restless style. Pick your spot. It's the soap opera stuff that's going on within the organization of the Cleveland Cavaliers. According to numerous reports, NBA insider extraordinaire Adrian Wojnarowski of ESPN, my colleague here, he will be on with us, by the way, in about 27 minutes. But he's one of the people that wrote the story about how the Cleveland Cavaliers had a meeting and everybody went in on Kevin Love and how folks weren't happy with Kevin Love. Why could you possibly have a problem with Kevin Love? It's very, very simple. Love, they felt didn't give them any love. Because while the Cleveland Cavaliers was in the midst of getting spanked, ramrodded, beat down, embarrassed by the Oklahoma City Thunder, scoring, by the way, 124 points on Saturday afternoon and still losing by 24. They gave up damn near 150 points, 148 to be exact. Because the Cleveland Cavaliers did that, and they were getting spanked, they had a problem because after the game, they came into the locker room and guess what? Kevin Love was already gone. Kevin Love had left the game and was home chilling. He left. He was home and they felt like he just left them there hanging. In their eyes, even in the eyes of somebody like LeBron James, who gets along very, very well with Kevin Love from what I'm told, even in the eyes of somebody like him, it's the equivalent of getting into a street fight with one of your boys and then you leave your boys and desert everybody. That's how everybody was looking at Kevin Love. Let me tell you how you should be looking at Kevin Love. If you want to look at that, because I like Kevin Love. And I happen to believe that Kevin Love is the second best player on the Cleveland Cavaliers, and he's the second most reliable player on the Cleveland Cavaliers. I think Kevin Love has been a walking double-double. I think for the most part, he shows up and produces. I think that, believe it or not, he finds himself in an untenable situation. And I'm going to go places that most people ain't going to go. Damn it, because I can. Kevin Love, being a baller who happens to be white, might have a problem being around these brothers with the problems that they have. Not a brother. You don't care about that. I'm talking about these particular brothers with all the drama circulating in Cleveland. You got LeBron James that don't want to commit to a long-term deal. You got Isaiah Thomas that's looking to get paid and trying to find his bearings after being out with the hip injury. You got J.R. Smith, who's trying to remember how to be a shooting guard. You got Tristan Thompson, who's associated with the Kardashians. And I'm not being disrespectful. I'm not getting into his personal business. But the Kardashian curse is something that has been talked about on numerous occasions. And the reality of the situation is he hasn't played that well. Now, in my mind, Tristan Thompson is a role player who has been a starter, and he's a reserve trying to learn how to be a reserve, and that's problematic. And caught in the midst of all of that is a coach in Tyronn Lue who's been a sacrificial lamb, a GM who's a rookie, for an owner who thinks he knows more basketball than the players. And when you combine that with the fact that LeBron James is entering the last year of his deal and he's free to leave this summer, and he didn't want Kyrie traded because he didn't like the deal for Isaiah Thomas and Jamie Crowder and those boys. And you couple all of that with the fact that Dan Gilbert said, okay, if that's what you want, then commit to me long term, 3 to 5 years, and I'll keep Kyrie. But if you're not going to do that, I'm going to look towards the future. I'm not going to think about you. I'm going to think about life beyond you because I'm going to anticipate that you're leaving. And LeBron said, so be it. Do what you got to do. So all of that going on just makes for the drama. Just makes for the drama that exists. That's what happens. Now, we can sit up there and say, well, we're not going to cast blame, or we're going to cast blame to this player, to that player. J.R. Smith's got to shoot better. I don't want to hear any complaints about Dwayne Wade. He's a 3-time champion, a future Hall of Famer who was more than willing to go to the bench because obviously that will help J.R. get his confidence back. I don't want to hear about Kevin Love because he is what we thought he was. He can shoot. He can rebound. That's what he does. And we all know it. Stop it if you're trying to say otherwise. Tristan Thompson, he's got to play better, but he is a role player. Isaiah Thomas, look, he is what he is. The brother can score. And when healthy, he could average 20 to 25 a game. And when healthy, he's a scoring dynamo. But he's miniature. As a result, he can't defend most people in the NBA because he's not some Muggsy Bogues type that's pressuring the ball 94 feet. He's got to defend in a half-court setting. And most, if not everybody in the NBA can shoot over him. That's a problem. He's strong as a pit bull, but he's short. And as a result, he's limited defensively, which doesn't help with the Cleveland Cavaliers because unlike Golden State, the Cleveland Cavaliers don't do a great job of covering one another defensively. And we didn't even get into all of the agendas. You got JR wanting to be a starter and a bit salty because he bust his tail in the offseason to work himself into being as good as he could possibly be, in part anyway, to appease LeBron. And then the minute Dwayne Wade came, he felt like he was on the outside looking in. That was a problem. You got the combination of him and guys like Iman Shumpert. Some people feel getting paid too much. I got love for both of them. I think they do their jobs. So you got that going on. You got Isaiah Thomas, who deserves his money, but might not deserve it from this particular franchise. Tyronn Lue's job may be in jeopardy. And of course, you got the rookie GM. And they're all caught in the middle of LeBron and Dan Gilbert being on the outs with one another again. I mean, what an absolute mess it is in Cleveland, Ohio, with this basketball team. You just can't make it up. You just can't make it up. 888-729-3776 is the number to call up. This 888-729-3776, 888-SAY-ESPN. The other item I'm going to get into is Jason Kidd being fired. Ladies and gentlemen, the team wasn't achieving as much as it should. With the Greek Freak, with Brogdon, with Bledsoe and others, maybe they should have been better, but my God. You can't give it time? You can't give it time. Just going to get rid of Jason Kidd, just like that. I don't think it's right. But it's perfectly within Milwaukee's prerogative to do what they're doing. Here's what I really have a problem with. Jason Kidd's lost his job. Fizdale and Memphis has lost his job. Watson and Phoenix has lost his job. Ladies and gentlemen, when you look at the African-American coaches that exist, the Doc Rivers, the Tyronn Lues of the world, the J.B. Bickerstaffs with his interim tag. Ladies and gentlemen, at the rate things are going, by the end of this season, there may only be 2 black coaches in the entire NBA. Dwayne Casey in Toronto, who's one of the most fabulous coaches in the league. And, of course, Nate McMillan in Indiana. Everybody else might be gone. Tyronn Lue might be gone. Doc Rivers might be gone. J.B. Bickerstaff might be gone. I mean, what the hell is going on here? You got numbers crunchers and analytics dudes who are friends with other analytics dudes, evidently none who happen to be black, basically invading the NBA by ingratiating themselves with owners who understand numbers better than they understand the game and are more than willing to give those folks an opportunity that they're not going to accord to other people. There is something wrong going on here, and I'm going to tell you what's wrong. Where the hell are all of these black players speaking up about this issue? Where's the support? We want to speak against the president. We want to speak about social issues. We want to come to the end, to the defense of things that may have nothing to do with us. We want to use our Twitter and Facebook and Instagram accounts. But when it comes to the issue of black coaches and the challenges that they face, in a league that's over 70% black. We haven't heard a damn word from these players. And I'm not counting LeBron and D Wade speaking up for Fizdale, because Fizdale was an assistant coach in Miami. That's one of their boys. And I appreciate their support, but that's just support from the peanut gallery. That's your man. And you giving him love. I'm talking about the issue of the dissipating number of African-American coaches in a sport of basketball. This ain't the National Hockey League or Major League Baseball. This is basketball. And cats who never played, but no numbers, are taking over this league. And the Fred Hoibergs in Chicago, and the Dave Yeagers in Sacramento, and the Brett Browns in Philadelphia, and others keeping their jobs, while African-American coaches are falling by the wayside. No one has a problem with that? You're a black NBA player, you have nothing to say about that? Nothing. But you got time to talk about the president or something else. But not this issue, huh? Okay. I'm not black, I'm OJ. Okay. 888-729-3776. That's 888-SAY-ESPN. Straight Talk Wireless. Nationwide coverage on America's largest and most dependable 4G LTE networks. In case you didn't notice, I'm just getting started. I got a whole bunch of energy today. Oh, I can't wait. I'm mad. We got to go to commercial. You are listening live to the Stephen A. Smith Show on ESPN Radio. By the way, buckle up. I'm just getting started.
Craving even more of Stephen A?
Him of all people.
For around-the-clock access to the man?
I'm Stephen A.
You can follow him on Twitter and Instagram at Stephen A. Smith and on Facebook at Stephen A.
See, nobody wants to go here. Nobody wants to go here. I will be the first to admit it. I don't know why the hell ESPN decided to give me a national radio show, but I'm thankful. And guess what? I ain't giving it back. I'm telling you that right now. Because it's moments like this that I was made for radio. See, I ain't scared to touch on these issues. This is some nonsense. And white America, don't you worry. It ain't your fault. Ain't nobody pointing the finger at you. Nobody's pointing the finger at you. You got to put on your big boy pants. You got to put on your big boy pants. When I sat up there, I'm going to tell you a little story real quick. Years ago, I had a television show. Name of the television show was Quite Frankly. This is long before First Take became number one. Long before everybody recognized First Take as a blockbuster hit. I had a show called Quite Frankly. I got news for y'all, ladies and gentlemen. Quite Frankly was a pretty damn good show. Pretty damn good show. Had every guest imaginable but Tiger Woods and Michael Jordan. And Michael Jordan was on his way. Ratings even went up. But here's the reality. ESPN decided they needed to go in a different direction. Ladies and gentlemen, pull my quotes from back then in 2007. Do you remember what I said? They made the right decision. Because we could sit up here and front all we want to. But when you're in the world of television, it's about ratings and it's about revenue. And guess what? The ratings fell short. And you know why it fell short? Because a whole bunch of African Americans, a whole bunch of black folks out there that so desperately wanted an African American to have a show, got it, and didn't support it. That's not the company's fault. Why am I telling that story? Because as we sit here today, while some people want to lament the fact that you got African-American coaches falling by the wayside in a league over 70% black of players, you got coaches falling by the wayside. You only got one African-American owner. That's Michael Jordan, who has Steve Clifford as his coach, who's not African-American, but that's a different story for another day. That's not Michael Jordan's fault. He's giving other blacks opportunities. He hires blacks all the time. But what I'm saying is, not just that, but you look at the rest of the league. There's no black ownership. And owners, rightfully so, are concerned about their bottom line. And if you meet up with young white dudes that know numbers and know how to maximize your product revenue-wise, you're going to pay attention to them. And they're going to hire friends. So the last line of defense to save the prevalence of African-American coaches in the sport of the NBA is for players to speak up. You got time to talk about the president and what he is and is not doing, but you ain't got time to talk about this issue when this is more in your wheelhouse? You want to talk about the violence in the streets and how we should be doing something about it without highlighting exactly what should be done when we all know damn well what should be done? Really? Before I go off even further about this, let me re-air for you what I did on ESPN's First Take this morning, my final take. It's pertaining to this exact same issue. I would deeply appreciate it if you would indulge me by listening to my final take on First Take today. Play that, Cat.
You might not feel this way, but something amazing has been happening in the NBA. You might have missed it. NBA players actually know how to keep quiet. They may not know how to keep quiet over protest issues involving the president of the United States of America, or other social issues where it would be impossible to aim criticism in their direction because, well, criticism can't possibly come your way when you're willing to take a position almost anyone with sense would take. See the 2016 ESPYs, will you? But here's the thing. When it comes to the dismissal of black NBA coaches, the dwindling numbers that are appearing before our very eyes, where is all the noise of support from black players? Yes, I know that both LeBron James and Dwayne Wade echoed words of support for David Fizdale when he was axed in Memphis. But I'm not talking about obvious support from the peanut gallery, the kind that can easily be dismissed due to personal relationships. I'm alluding to the bigger issue of black coaches being pushed out, of a tolerance level that has vastly lowered where they're concerned, and how it's been enabled by a body of NBA players who seem unwilling or flat out scared to speak out against this alarming trend. Make whatever case you want to justify Fizdale, Earl Watson in Phoenix, or now Jason Kidd in Milwaukee getting fired. But how is it that barely a word is uttered when white contemporaries who get to keep their jobs? Fred Hoiberg is still employed in Chicago, earning $5 million a year. Scott Brooks is in the nation's capital, earning an average of $7 million per, with his Wizards underachieving. Dave Yeager has a job in Sacramento paying him $4 million per year, in case y'all missed it. And Brett Brown is in the midst of an extension in Philadelphia, despite having a 97-274 record. Do y'all get the point? No, I'm not calling for folks to be fired. Not any of them, because there are mitigating circumstances that warrant consideration and understanding. What I'm asking is simple. How in the hell can a league where more than 70% of its players are African American have barely anything to say at all about the diminished number of black coaches? Where the hell is your voice now? The way things are looking, by the end of the season, the only black coaches we suspect will have head coaching jobs will be Dwayne Casey in Toronto and Nate McMillan in Indiana. Outside of that, we don't know about Mark Jackson, about David Fizdale, even about Monty Williams, whether any of them will get a second chance. Where are the black players on that issue? That's what I'm asking. I think it's an appropriate question, especially on a day like today following Jason Kidd's firing, when the star player who stepped up on his behalf happens to be from Greece.
You heard me. Think about that for a second. And then brace yourself for when I get back. Because like I said, I'm just getting started.
I just saved hundreds of dollars by switching to Geico. I feel like I'm on top of the world.
Disclaimer, you will not be transported to the top of the world. In the unlikely event you find yourself at the Arctic Circle, seek shelter from the elements immediately to avoid frostbite and or hypothermia. Geico will not be responsible if you find yourself in a cave or crevasse with a lonely abominable snowman, who in all likelihood will force you to play games including but not limited to Go Fish, charades, Chinese checkers, or his personal favorite, Red Rover, send Yeti on over. Geico is not liable for any damages, either physical or emotional.
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more.
You're listening to the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
You listening to Heavy D right there. You listening to Heavy D right there. Y'all don't know about that. Y'all young whippersnappers out there. Black coffee, no sugar, no cream. That's the type of girl I need down with my team. Y'all don't understand about that. Y'all young whippersnappers wet behind the ears, breath smelling like Similac. Y'all don't understand. Y'all don't understand. Getting back to the conversation that I was having. Understand, white America, I'm not talking about you. I'm not talking about you at all. Has nothing to do. It's not about you. All these players, you understand, talk about, everything you want to talk about. You understand? President Trump doesn't want somebody to come to the White House. We got something to say. Folks killing one another in the streets of Chicago. We waited a while to come to that situation, but we got something to say, and rightfully so. Other social issues related to Colin Kaepernick, don't get me started. Oh, we had something to say about that. Black coaches getting fired. Nobody got anything to say. Nothing. Fizdale fired in Memphis. They went to the playoffs last year. Fired. Watson in Phoenix, young talent, you ain't give him much to work with. Fired. He got fired before he had an opportunity to pass gas. And now you got a situation here where, okay, it's Jason Kidd. You got the Greek freak, Giannis Antetokounmpo, coming to the defense of Jason Kidd, calling him before the team even called him. Said they're about to fire you. Do I need to call my agent? What can I do to help you keep your job? Black folks with all of these Twitter accounts, all these Facebook accounts, all these Instagram accounts don't have a damn thing to say. This man, Giannis Antetokounmpo, the Greek freak, he's from Greece. Greece. And got more to say than some of these dudes. And, oh, by the way, in case y'all didn't notice, I said over 70%. Let me be specific. A report based in 2017, 74.4% of all NBA players are African American or black. And if you take into account people of color, meaning international players, that number's up to 80.9%. Y'all ain't got nothing to say. It's unbelievable. Unbelievable.
You're listening to the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
You know, I'm going to reiterate the point that I was trying to make. Prominent NBA players, LeBron James, Kevin Durant, Steph Curry, Dwayne Wade, Carmelo Anthony, Chris Paul, have all been outspoken on various social issues, including some that don't particularly pertain to President Trump. I'm applauding them for that. I'm thankful. Don't get it twisted. But in this gorgeous mosaic that is the United States of America, when we talk about things that are inclusionary, it strikes me as a tad bit conspicuous that coaches are getting fired of African American descent and you don't hear a word from the players. We've heard so many. Think about the stories we heard over the last year, y'all. LeBron James' house getting vandalized with a racial slur in June. If you remember, what did he say that day? Hate in America, especially for African Americans, is living every day. This is the same LeBron James that also refused to stay in a Trump-owned hotel in December because of his feelings about the president, and I don't blame him. Last summer, Carmelo Anthony hosted a town hall in South Central Los Angeles that brought together the public and the police to talk about race. 2 seasons ago, James Wade, Kobe Bryant wore I Can't Breathe t-shirts in support of the Black Lives Matter movement during pregame warm-ups. And Derrick Rose and a whole bunch of guys around the league did the same thing. I am not insulting them in any way. I'm thankful, I'm grateful that they brought attention to these issues, using their cachet to do so. But have y'all noticed what's going on in the basketball association, in the NBA, in the National Basketball Association? You've got guys who are analytics dudes. And correct me if I'm wrong, Nuno. Correct me if I'm wrong, John. They're analytics dudes who basically are numbers crunchers, practically all of whom are white. And they look at one another and they hire one another. And the owners, I can't even knock them because guess what? They're comfortable. Owners are comfortable with numbers because they're bottom line is the bottom line. And if you got somebody that can come to them and point to revenue and say, hey, this is what comes to the table with it. If you see somebody that can do that for you, God bless you. So what am I ultimately pointing to? I'm pointing to the need for more diversity within the ownership ranks, the decision-making ranks. And that doesn't mean because you're an owner and you're an African-American or in the case of some of these guys. I mean, because when you look at minority ownership, I mean, Michael Jordan is Michael Jordan. He's the majority owner for the Charlotte Hornets. Vivek Ranadive is the controlling owner of the Sacramento Kings. Mark Lazary, who was born in Morocco, is an owner of the Milwaukee Bucks. He's the third owner of color within the National Basketball Association. And you got to take that into consideration and recognize they were the first three owners of color to lead their teams at the same time in any of the major professional sports leagues. So the NBA is ahead of the curve. Please don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to give the impression that they're not. Nor am I trying to give the impression that because you're a black owner, that means you have to hire a black coach. Nonsense. I have no problem with Michael Jordan hiring Steve Clifford any more than I had a problem with him hiring Larry Brown, who I think should still be coaching in the NBA on some level, by the way, because no matter how old Larry Brown is, he still forgot more basketball than the rest of us know. What I am saying is that when you have diversity within the ownership ranks, it compels your contemporaries to entertain diversity. And that's how the engine gets started. You don't have to hire a white coach if you're a black owner, but you might hire a black GM. You might hire a black director of scouting or player personnel. You might do that. These are the kind of things that we have to pay attention to. These are the kind of things that are not being paid attention to. And what I'm saying is, if you are LeBron James and you got nearly 40 million followers on Twitter, and Lord knows how many on Facebook and Instagram, it'd be nice to hear you say something about this. Same applies to CP3. You are the president of the Players Association. Same applies to D. Wade. You are a future Hall of Famer. I mean, the list goes on and on. See, everybody talks a good game. And we talk about facing and embracing challenges that affect us as a society, and I applaud that. But if you ain't handling business within your own wheelhouse, what are you? You really think for 1 second that I want to sit here and talk about this? You really think that hosting a sports talk radio show, which is owned by ESPN, which means it's owned by Walt Disney, Mickey Mouse, you really think it's to my benefit to bring up these issues? Of course it is not. And it's not because folks don't want to talk about black issues or anything. It's because folks don't want to talk about issues. They want to talk about sports because you want to have fun, because you want a reprieve from what ails you in everyday life. But the problem is everything becomes intertwined, and there is no escape from reality. And I find it highly alarming that me, who is drop dead broke compared to those players and compared to most professional athletes, appears to have more courage. And I don't mean me literally. I mean people in my position. This is nonsense. These are the kind of things that I'm talking about. When you talk about heart, when you talk about guts, when you talk about standing firm and putting your behind on the line, any damn body can talk about an issue everybody's going to agree with them about. If there's killings in Chicago and the violence needs to stop, I appreciate their words at the 2016 ESPYs. I am grateful. But ladies and gentlemen, who the hell can disagree with that? Who's going to stand up and say, let the violence continue? Let folks kill one another. Who's going to say that? Of course no one's going to say that. You appreciate it, but it ain't courageous. And I'm not casting aspersions on any of those players. I'm cool with all of them. Well, actually, most of them. But my point to you is, that's what I'm saying. The power that people have. You complaining about a president. Is he getting impeached? What you have a problem with, is it going to get him impeached? If it's not going to get him impeached, you just whistling into the wind. Complaining about the latest thing. He don't care. You ain't doing anything. I was in Atlanta for the national championship game at the new Mercedes-Benz Stadium when Trump walked up in there. Yes, there was some boos. I promise you, at least 50,000 people were cheering for him. He don't care. You complaining about him, they ain't going to do anything. Now, if you talk about him getting impeached, you going to bring up some Russia investigation, some information or whatever. All right, that's fine. But you're going to speak up about him not inviting you to the White House, even though you had already said you didn't want to go? All right, that's fine. You're going to call him a bum? All right, that's fine. Where's it getting you? What difference is that really making? But you got cats here playing in a league where your voice is so profound, you even whisper about it to the commissioner and the NBA owners. It'll make a difference. I see nothing. I see absolutely, positively nothing. There's something that's not right about this picture.